really intrigued by AI, learning.
So you're not fearful at all, AI? You like you don't think it's going to take people jobs? You don't think it's going to like?
Oh, it's going to take people jobs. It's not going to take my job. I'll tell you why though.
What's good? It's your boy, TravTheRealist, and this is a brand new episode of If You Don't Mind Me Asking. This is episode number 6, and I got me a real special guest in the building. I got my day one Shells, came all the way down from Florida for a tech convention. So I want to pass it over to him so he can introduce himself and let you know what he does.
What's going on, guys? Thank you for having me, man. It's definitely been one in the making that I've been wanting to do for quite some time. So I'm glad I got to slide through. But I'm Sheldon Lucien. What I do professionally, I'm a network architect. So basically I design internet infrastructure, Wi-Fi, fiber optics, and I help internet service providers optimize their networks.
Okay, so as we was talking before, like how do you even get into that type of space? Like what inspires you? Because honestly, I never even really knew about that until I started speaking to you about it.
Yeah, I always just had this love for technology. And, for those of you that know me since middle school or high school, I've always been into music, being a musician. And it was something that I pretty much done majority of my life and early in high school, college. But I always had this thing for tech unknowingly, this kind of like hidden talent. And yeah, just as time went on, things just came naturally to me. I would get opportunities where I would get the opportunity to work with different companies. I partnered with them. They started giving me different resources, built a lot of relationships in this space, and yeah, just built a lot of trust and did a lot of good work to where people kept on giving me more opportunities.
So do you see a lot of people of our skin color in this tech industry?
Nah, I'll be honest, there's not too much, and that's one thing I would like to see more of. Yeah, not
Do
that
you think
much.
it's like lack of information? Like what do you think some of the reasons why you don't really see us in those spaces?
Yeah, I think it could be lack of information, just lack of visibility. I'd say just about every company I've worked with or worked for, I'm always the
Say I don't
only
care.
black one in the room. But it's definitely I think it's starting to slowly assimilate to more people of culture coming into the space, but it could definitely be a lot more.
Okay. So at this convention you just went to, like what percentage exactly would you say is like black and brown?
I think I was the only one in there for that one too. Honestly, it was a smaller convention. So last month I went to Oklahoma City, and I probably say, yeah, I could probably count on one hand the amount of black people I've seen at that too. So yeah, it's definitely not enough representation there. I've always kind of had the mindset of, extending opportunities to those who are serious about getting into the tech space, just like real estate or, any other industry that could be very lucrative. The internet is really the future of everything, and we all rely on it depending on, regardless of what your profession is. It's here to stay, and it's going to continue to grow. So just being at the cutting edge of that is a lot of opportunity to do a lot of great things. And then if you go globally, like, to build infrastructure in Africa or, parts of this world that don't have the resources and privileges that we do here. Yeah, there's a lot that could be done for sure.
So not counting your pockets, for like an entry level person coming in, how much do you think they can make if they would like to start off in this industry?
Yeah, starting off, it's going to take some time. I mean, if you work with a company, you can get a decent salary, just like any other job. I started in sales, so that's if anybody that is interested in getting into that space, I would always recommend getting into sales. Understand what it is, understand the product and what it is that you're selling, but understanding how it truly works, like how that technology works, how point A communicates to point Z, and yeah, just understanding it very well and just becoming more technical to where you could move into more like engineering type roles. And there's a lot of opportunities, man.
And are you like a one man band, or you have like a team amongst you for these projects?
Yeah, so for the most part, what I do with my personal company, I'm a one-man band. I design a lot of the infrastructure, but when it comes to deployment, I have technicians, different engineers, a lot of people that I work with that helps me bring that design to life. Yeah.
So do you feel like this is something you're gonna do long term, or do you feel like this is like a stepping stone for something different?
No, I'd say this is what I do. Yeah,
Okay.
it's definitely a for life thing, and there's so many different layers that I can unlock and achieve in this space that I have yet to do. So I'm definitely looking forward to see where that goes.
Okay. And we were just, so y'all don't know, we were just having lunch before this, but you
Mhm.
also talking about how you kind of want to move out the States.
Yeah,
So how will your job move with you? You know what I'm saying?
yeah. Honestly, I could be anywhere in the world and do this. I've been considering different countries in Africa, South America, Central America. So yeah, I'll be able to take this wherever, and really make an impact locally. As if I'm living in an area that's underdeveloped, I could do a lot there. So I could go anywhere and do this. That's the beauty of it.
So you don't got like no fears at all?
Nah, I'm not. I'm not somebody that lives in fear.
I mean,
you,
have you
you,
always been that way though?
yeah, I've always kind of been a fearless person. But you're just saying as far as moving out the country and
Yeah. Like,
starting.
I mean, like starting over anew somewhere different.
Yeah, I wouldn't say fear. It's just more I like the unknown and kind of being out of my comfort zone because I feel like that's where you grow the most.
Hmm.
Yeah, so that's something that I would definitely welcome is just, that changing environment, changing culture, being around different people, learning new things, experiencing new things. Yeah, I would definitely welcome that with open arms.
Has this economy affected your business at all? Like the whole thing with Trump and everything?
No, I'd say what I do is pretty much recession proof or pandemic proof.
Mm.
A lot of the development of what I do actually boomed during the pandemic.
Okay.
For example, everybody was at their house, either working remote or quarantine. And not to get too into the weeds with the tech side of things, but when everybody is at home, there's a lot of data that's being pushed and sent out into people's houses when you're using the internet versus certain times the internet loads is not as bad when people are going to work or leaving their house, but it's a lot of stress on networks when everybody is inside of their home. So a lot of what I do on the software side to optimize networks really helps those types of situations. If we were to have another pandemic, that's probably when I'll be at my busiest.
So my question is it AI proof? Whereas like, is this something like, technology could take over by themselves and be self-regulated, or something that, you have to like kind of, you need a programmer like you?
Nah, AI helps me. A lot of the software that I use has AI in it, so it mitigates a lot of the inconsistencies that you would experience with your internet connections at the service provider level. So yeah, I use a lot of AI. So I would say it's not something that I'm really worried about is going to take my job. It's only just going to enhance it. And for anybody that's interested in getting into this space, there's a lot that you could leverage AI for to really shorten that gap in that learning curve for sure.
Okay. Is there a work-life balance with this?
Oh yeah, big time, big time. Yeah, I could have very busy weeks or I could have very slow weeks. Work life balance is probably my biggest thing. I want to be able to not feel like I'm working, but get a lot done and feel like I'm progressing in a lot of different ways. But yeah, I would probably say out of everything that I've ever experienced in my professional career, this has probably been the most work life balance that I've ever had. Yeah,
Okay. Okay. All right. So we're getting off of business right
yeah,
now, and we're getting into some topics that I've been seeing.
yeah. Let's talk about it.
So let's get the dumb ones out the way. Let's
All
get the
right,
dumb ones
let's
out
get
the
the
way.
dumb ones
So the
out
first one is
there.
like, I hate how much pride people think they have. And when I
Okay.
say that is this 100 people versus one gorilla thing. I can't take it, yo. I don't know. I haven't been feeded into it, but I got friends who really think that they can take a gorilla. And you know what? I'm not knocking it, but it just, that one meme or whatever, the post that came up, it just shows me how childish us grown adults still are.
Yeah.
Like we all 30 really like trying to rationalize us fighting
A
a
gorilla.
gorilla.
Yeah.
So, I'm looking at this, it's like, arguing with people saying like, why are you so invested in this?
Yeah.
But that's what I like about the internet. It shows you that at the end of the day, we all still kind of are childish in a way. You know what I'm saying? Like we all ain't purpose. So I like it, but I don't like it.
Yeah, it's
because it's going too long. It's going on too long.
It's definitely something to talk about. But I honestly don't think 100 people could take down a gorilla. What do you think?
I say it depends if they armed or not armed. If they armed, yes, of course. But I feel like if it's 100 people versus a gorilla, I think at least 60 are getting killed. I think 100 people can take a gorilla, but it's going to be with huge casualties, a lot of high doctor bills.
Mm-hmm.
It's not going to be just like, oh, I can just live and talk another day.
Yeah, it's not going to be a walk in the park. Gorillas are very, very strong. And if we just talking hands and feet, I mean, I don't know what we could possibly do to really hurt a gorilla, because those things are strong, man. I mean,
a monkey is strong. Like a monkey can rip off your arm and your limb. A gorilla.
I don't know if you ever seen an AI video, somebody creating a rendering of this actual fight where they have one big ass gorilla and 100 people, and it ain't look too good for them, man.
Dog, let me rephrase it. If it's organized, though, we might have a chance to be organized.
Yeah,
if we had like really a military organized dude who's like, all right, it's the first flank, we want to, lure it over here. Yeah. We might have, but we all just going in blind, just punch it. No, it's not going to.
You got to be organized.
It's not going to turn.
You got to have a plan if you're doing something crazy like that. But yeah, I wouldn't be taking part of that.
Okay, so the next one is, me and you've been kind of going back and forth with this whole Shannon Sharp thing. So if y'all don't know, Shannon Sharp, he was first with Skip Bayless. Then he went to First Take and has his own show. He's been doing really good with interviews. But recently he got into a scandal where OnlyFans girl, who had to be like, I don't know, I guess 2021, came out saying like, hey, he was being a little bit more freakier than she wanted to. It wasn't consensual pretty much. And now he's kind of like in a situation where his reputation is on the line. And for me, it just kind of, I always had like an issue with older dudes going for young girls. That's one. Mm-hmm. I always thought that was kind of weird, because for me, it's kind of like, I feel like it's for training purposes. You know what I'm saying? And I know, man, you had a conversation recently about, about when a woman's really in her prime. And I think a woman's more in her prime towards her 30s. I feel like when I do mess with girls, younger, like, like young 20s, mid 20s, it's almost like I have to teach them. And I'm not saying I don't want to teach my lady, but it's just like, I don't need somebody too impressionable. You know what I'm saying? Right. Like I need somebody that at least has some type of grounding in it. Not saying that young girls don't have that, but in my experience, it's more so, it's like, I want to follow the leader, rather than when I talk to the girls more so my age, it's more so, all right, what can I learn from you, and vice versa.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to get on that situation with Shannon Sharp, I mean, honestly, I think he definitely made a mistake. Just considering where he's at in his career, I don't think it was a good move. And as far as going after, a woman that's much younger than him, it's obvious it was for pleasure, right? It's not one of those things probably where he was even taking her seriously in the context of what took place. So, yeah, I think with all that he's accomplished in his career, where he's going, it wasn't really a good move. I think, just looking at, you're looking at a black man's success that, he's accomplished a lot, and he's an influence to a lot of people. I hope it's a learning lesson for him. And I hope that he realizes that, you could climb to the top and you could do all these things, but, it's that one little mistake, or that, that one little thing that could really take you off your game and throw you off. But yeah, I don't think that's from the perspective of like, anybody who likely be taken seriously. I think from an age perspective, to your point, yeah, I mean, I think it really depends on the woman, right? I think maturity is really a thing that's ageless. I mean, you could be young, you could be older. I think, yeah, I don't really know how to answer that question, honestly.
Come on, Shell. Nah. You really think maturity is ageless? You can say that.
Yeah.
But let's play numbers. If we playing numbers, it doesn't go that way. It's more so the more life you live, the more
The
experience
more
you
experience
have.
you got, right?
And I know you're trying to beat around this topic real quick, so I ain't let you off the hook real quick. So I'll play devil's advocate to myself right now
Mm-hmm.
because I see a lot of women my age and older saying like, how come he messing with a young girl? You know what I'm saying? Like, what's the benefit of a young girl? But I can also say, if you want to talk like culturally, if you want to talk people from out the states, it's kind of common for older men to date younger women.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, if you boil it down, it's for stability. Like a lot of women outside of America, or I guess some other like major places, women don't have the same equality still. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of times these older men are supplying that stability for what? Some pleasure and some comfortability from a woman. Like I told you before, I had like a colleague who was telling me like her 8-year-old sister just got married to somebody who was like 42 in like Mexico.
Yeah.
And I was appalled by it, but she was like, yo, that's just kind of like how it is. That's culture over there. Like that's kind of like how it normally is. So for me, I don't want to be too naive to be like, all right, you can't mess with a young girl. But for me personally, I haven't met a lot of young girls with like their head on their shoulders like that. You know what I'm saying? Now I have met like one or two, but it's definitely, I feel like the numbers go more towards, maybe late 20s,
I agree.
mid 30s and stuff like that. So, I mean, we all can say maturity, like they said for men, to redirect it. We were talking about primes, I feel like a man's prime different than a woman's prime. I feel like a woman's prime might be between the ages of 28 and 35. I don't think a man really reaches his prime till about 38. Like mentally, like I mean, I guess physically you could say we're in our primes in our 20s, but no offense, it's like we just doing shit. We don't really know what we're doing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But like when we 38 and above, I think that's when we finally like understand like, all right, this is life, and that's when you start actually making like plans of being more decisive in what you want to do in life. And that's what I think a lot of women look for. They look for that leadership. You know what I'm saying? So
1000%.
I think it's like it's interesting though with Shannon Sharp, because I'm just like, yo, if you're gonna do all of that, go out the States, man. Like you pissing where you sleep at.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That's what I don't understand with the Shannon Sharp. And also, it's like you a brother, man. Like you black. Like no offense, like you can't do what these white guys be doing.
Yeah.
Like these white guys can have these young girls and like nothing goes off. But like I'm telling you, everything that we do, if we get allowed to a certain level, is going to have a lot of eyes on us.
Yeah, for sure. Especially when you're in the spotlight. There's, like I said, there's a lot that you can't really get away with, and you put a target on your back when you make those kind of decisions. But yeah, as far as maturity, I think for us, we age like fine wine. As time goes on and the things that we accomplish and the more infrastructure we build, that leads to our prime, or that's what builds our prime. I think it's not the same standard when it comes to women. I think how the world views a woman's prime is, her beauty, her youth, her energy, and a lot of that is typically at the ages of, between 20, 25, maybe later 20s. And as a woman gets older, um there's less chances of being able to have kids the older you get, right? Being in your late 30s and 40s, that's not as practical. So, for those that go after younger women, and again, I always gauge this on, what are your intentions in that relationship? Is it just for fun? Are you just messing around, or is this somebody that you take seriously and you have a connection with and you want to see a future or develop a future with? And for those that go after younger women and actually want a future, likely it's because they want to have kids or a lot of kids for an expensive period of time. It's kind of harder to do that with a older woman biologically. So it's all about preference. Me personally, in my relationship, my girl's 3 years younger than me. And I say we're both at a place where, I've grown a lot over the years. She's grown a lot over the years, but we learn a lot together, right? We experience a lot of life together, and things that, had we been dating, 10 years ago, maybe even 5, 6 years ago, things would have been different. So it's all a matter of, you getting with somebody that is on the same growth pattern as you, to where, yeah, leadership is always going to come from the man, but there's a lot that you could learn from a woman too in that process.
Okay, Mr. Learn from a woman. What
Yeah.
have you learned from your lady?
She's taught me a lot when it comes to self care. I'll probably say there's things that I didn't have in the past when it came to self care. Just being more intentional about how I spend my time and the things that I do. I'd say I had a lot of those things, but she's kind of put a pretty good spotlight on how to be more intentional. That was probably the biggest takeaway that I'd say starting out in our relationship that I developed, and yeah, just being more intentional about the things that you do, how you take care of yourself. She's really big on self care, and I love that, and she's taught me a lot of things in that regard.
So I always feel like when it comes to like relationships or when a guy really like a girl, it's almost like I'm not going to say she's bringing out the softer side of you, but I feel like she's bringing out the side, like you said, that will make you care more about yourself.
Hmm.
So let me, how can I want to phrase this? I don't want to, do too much. But
You know how to do too much, Traven.
no, I've been working on self restraint. So I'm getting older, I'm maturing. So when it comes to that, though, but is that enough to keep a man though?
Is what enough to keep a man?
So not to get too much what we were talking about earlier is I feel like one thing that you really like about your girlfriend is that she has a fine attention to detail, especially when it comes to like what is beneficial towards you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying for you, is that the main consensus of what keeps her around, what keeps y'all together, or is it more?
Yeah, it's one of many things.
Okay.
I'd say she's my best friend. I really do enjoy doing life with her.
Okay,
I'd say one of the biggest things, and we talk about it all the time. We're like two little kids, man. Like we sit there and we clown each other. We clown other people. Like we're just two goofballs. And it's like when you have somebody that you can enjoy doing life with, having fun with, and it just comes naturally. I think it's a beautiful thing. So yeah, the self-care, the intentionality, and all the moral things that comes with that, and vice versa. Obviously I taught her a lot too. I could let her speak on that one day. Maybe she'll be on the pod. But yeah, it's just the process, the journey of building a relationship and experience in life with somebody.
All right, so I gotta stir the pot. Not with you, not with the situation you just said, but pretty much she's likable.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and that leads to a conversation.
Yeah, so this is what we was
earlier.
having earlier. So the thing I wanted to talk about is the power of likability.
Yeah.
I was telling Sheldon earlier that I think it's more important, or it's more beneficial to be more likable than lovable.
Yeah.
Because I feel like the people you love, a lot of times you hurt them because you know that they'll come back. You know that they'll forgive you, whatever you might want to say about that.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like the people you like, you always put your best forward to not disappoint them in a way.
Yeah.
So I feel like likability goes far, especially when it comes to relationships. And to a sidebar, I had a homegirl send me a video of this dude saying nowadays guys like hanging out with their homeboys more than they girls, and that's like an issue.
Mm-hmm.
And she asked me my thoughts, and like I said, I don't know whether she liked what I said, but I kind of feel like some of these men with mics in their faces, I'm one right now, so with their mic in their face, they kind of tell you half the truth. They don't really give you all the sides of things. And for me, I'm the type of person where I look at it from all sides because I don't want to just be biased on one side.
Yeah.
And partially what he said is true. Like, yeah, guys do like hanging out with their homeboys more than their girls. But let's break this down into sections.
Mm-hmm.
Shells, we talked about yesterday. I probably haven't seen you in 8 years. We probably talked.
It's wild.
We probably talk like 4 or 5 times a year. All my homeboys, I probably see 4 or 5 times a year. I talk to 4 or 5 times a year. That's not, you can't compare that to somebody you with 24/7,
right?
Every day of the week. Like you can't. If I was to be around my homeboys 24/7, trust me, I wouldn't want to be around them 24/7. Like I was in college, I had roommates, I love my homeboys, but whenever you spend too much time together, you're going to have issues come up out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Number two is that I think most women don't have the skill set of the word likability. And let me, before y'all, judge me on this. When you get to the root of it, like when we growing up as kids, like if you was a girl and was like somewhat attractive, like had a butt or whatever, had some type of attribute to attract a guy, that was enough to kind of get a guy attention back then. But not unless you was like Chris Brown or something, like the handsomest dude alive. Like you had to like gain skills of being charming, being funny, being having being chivalrous, all these type of things. You had to add these skills to your toolbox to attract a lady.
Yeah.
So all that makes so a guy has to be has to be likable to a girl for a girl to come over to him, pretty much. But I don't think that skill set started for most girls until they got to college or something like that, or until they gained like their freshman 15 or whatever. Yeah. And they started getting a little self-conscious. And then like, damn, like I got other competition. Like I need to start adding some tools to my toolbox. You know what I'm saying? So that's why you might see a lot of the big girls or girls that used to be big girls all wifed up. Because at a young age, they had to learn how to get a personality. Yeah. And that's not a bad thing, because like I ain't gonna lie, you can say what y'all want about big girls. I don't know one single big girl. All big girls I know got at least one or two dudes, yo. I ain't gonna lie. And you wanna know why? It's because the personality, they know how simple men are, how to actually like, satisfy a man. It's not that hard, ladies. You know what I'm saying? But they learn at a young age by just studying us, being like, all right, these dudes is easier than what they come off. All I gotta do is say what, stroke their ego, maybe cook for them, and just maybe be into something that they like whether it's sports or anime or music or whatever, and I got them. Yeah. Because I'll tell you right now, personality will get you way further than me than just the box. You know what I'm saying? For sure. So I'm like, the box doesn't keep me. Like the box might keep me around for a little bit, but your personality and like, how you treat me is what really keeps me around for you for the long haul. So for me, it's just like, a lot of times, like I said earlier, women don't know how simple men are. And it's just like y'all overcomplicate things. Like y'all do things that y'all think men like. Like y'all don't understand that us guys, like we don't even understand it. Like we like randomness. That's it. And it's like I was telling you earlier. It's like a girl might see that a dude like the girl with a big butt pic, and she might go get a BBL. But he might have liked that big butt pic just for that Wednesday. You know what I'm saying? Like he might not want that 24/7. That's why he got you. Yeah. But it's almost like, whenever you see something that a guy is looking at, you think that you're competing with him. We're just like, nah, like this dude is just scrolling through shit. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like us guys is very simple. And then for the women who actually like know that, they know how to use their womanly charm to have us do what they want us to do. And like for guys to do for women, it's not what we say, is how we say it. A lot of times I was showing Sheldon the video earlier of the girl who was saying like, I don't understand how I'm not getting the proper response from my man. She was pretty much saying like, I was telling him like, hey, like I'm tired that we don't spend time together. Like every time I ask you out, you always give me excuses. Like I don't understand what's going on, and I don't really care about your reasoning. And then the girl next to her was a professional. She was like, well, I wouldn't go about it that way. I would kind of more say is like, hey, when I'm with you, I feel recharged. And when you're not around, like I feel like I'm lacking something. Yeah, so maybe we can maybe we can come together, have a good conversation, good food, rub on each other, do X, Y, and Z, and see where the night goes. Yeah. And that will get you way further than what the first lady said. Than aggression. You know what I'm saying? Like a real woman knows how to use her womanly charms to pretty much make her man do what needs to be done. The key to men is making us think we in control.
Yeah, and it's being that playing that role, and I know that's probably a trigger word for a lot of people when it comes to roles, but I believe God made us in a way to coexist with one another. It's a saying that goes, men are attracted to looks, but they marry mentality, right? And to your question as to what keeps us is that level of substance that goes deeper than the superficial. you know, what is it that we have in common? What is it that we like likewise? You know, how you speak to me, how you handle conflict. I always somebody had asked me, I'm trying to remember the conversation, but he had basically asked me like, how is it that you know that you have the right one? And I would say, you know, you have the right one when she still respects you when she's upset. And I think
Mm.
how a woman's biggest power is her femininity, her softness, her love, her affection, and I think unfortunately a lot of women don't understand that with men. Is we're really that simple to where you can get the same message across of whatever it is that you're trying to say in a matter of how you say it. And you know, we talk about likability, and being loved. I'll add another layer to that. It's being respectable. You know, for you to really, this is just from my perspective of a woman, from what I see, you know, for you to maintain her love, affection, femininity, all of those things, she has to respect you. And being a respectable person to me is more valuable than being likable. And that really, for you to be a respectable person or respected by others and respected by the woman that you're interfacing with, that comes with a lot of development. Like we're talking about, you know, a man's prime, all of the things that we build, all the things that we've developed and had to learn morally, structurally, spiritually, emotionally, regulating all of those things, right? I think those are the things that would likely bring that out of a woman to be in her feminine outside of the things that you provide for her.
And another layer to it that we was kind of talking about earlier is I think more so like in the black community
Hmm.
is I don't really think the men and women, I think maybe past like the 70s on, like really train their kids on how to be a man and a
Yeah.
woman. You know, like part of it is to broken homes, single home households, but
Pass down
for
trauma.
pass down trauma.
Yeah.
But like for me, it's just like I don't think my dad really showed me tools of how to be a man. Like I learned it from maybe outside other coaches, like you know, like mentors, different things like that. But I want to ask my sisters that because I don't know whether my mom gave them really the tools to be women nowadays. And I think it's a lost art where it's like when I went to college, I went to a PWI, and these white girls was doing these white boys laundry, cooking them food. I'm not saying that they had to do it, but like they were doing all of this in college. I'm just like, yo, these dudes ain't doing it. I'm like, what are you doing all this for? But they
Right.
was raised like that.
Right, exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
To pretty much cater for whoever their man is. But ask a black girl that, they be like, oh, I ain't doing that.
Yeah, because they didn't
And
grow up around
you know
it.
what I'm
They didn't
saying?
see that growing up.
And not
Yeah.
saying they should, but that's just like a skill level that I think we just lost over a period of time. Like we had that. Like you haven't you didn't see Sinners yet, but I saw Sinners. But you know, a big part of it was about how a black woman and black man held each other down.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
It's a
saying?
powerful thing,
You know,
man.
it's definitely a powerful thing where it's just like, you know, through thick and thin, it's like, yo, I got your back and I'm a be about you. I saw a video. It was like of an older black couple. It was like a black lady. She pretty much cooking, like feeding her husband the meal and stuff like that. He asked her for like something else, and she was like, you know, I'm gonna cook that for you too, because like I prayed for you, and like I'm gonna do right by God. But it was just like how she was doing it. I could just tell, like she was really like, you know,
Yeah.
that was ingrained to her. It wasn't like something she was just doing.
She
and
wasn't pretending.
pretending at all. And this
Yeah.
dude was just so happy, and I was like, yo, that's the relationship I want. Cause he probably, you know, handling the situation in different areas for her, making sure things is good. And I think, like you said, like we need each other. That's why, like, I kind of hate how I forgot the question you asked me earlier. Where I forgot what you asked me, but I feel like social media doesn't really show you the truth. Like it's showing you, it's showing you things that they want you to get riled up about. Like some of the biggest revenues is based off of emotion.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Gambling based off of emotion. You know what I'm saying? And you can trace that all the way back to that, where it's just like we gotta get in tune with our emotions. You know what I'm saying? And be real intentional. That's why I say I think the older I'm getting, the more I'm starting just understanding life and like, you know, what's really important. Like it's not really about who the baddest girl. It's about like who's best for you in the long haul. Like
Right.
when my mom passed away, like my dad was with her but she was in the hospital for like 3 months straight. You know what I'm saying? And for me, it's like I can't say that their relationship was the best example, but me seeing it, I was just like, if I'm down, I want somebody that's going to be by
Be
my
right by your
side.
side. Yeah.
When I'm sick, and though these are the things you just think about when you get older. So I don't know. It's definitely interesting when I think about it, because I ain't gonna lie. Some of the best conversations, some of the best lessons I have received has been with a female. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because they give you more insight than maybe your homeboy or something like
Right.
that. Somebody that's on the same playing field as you.
Yeah, yeah, it's definitely good to have that perspective. And that goes to learning from a woman, right? Getting that additional perspective so you could look at things differently. Um, there's so many different dynamics in, where people come from, how they were raised. Our parents did the best that they could do with what they had, right? And wherever their relationship was at the time, I think back when my parents was 30. I'm 32 now. You 32 or 31,
Me
right?
too.
32. And when our parents was at at that age with us, I can't imagine having kids right at this very moment, right? It's a lot to maneuver, and it's a lot of moving parts. It's a lot of responsibility. And yeah, they were just doing the best that they can do. And ultimately, to your point of, the black couple, I think we have to do better as a culture in a lot of different ways. But we have to be better at setting the right examples for ourselves, right? Not even just for the next generation, but for ourselves, and really trying to extract what is it that I am seeing, and how can I adapt the positives of that? Because social media and life as a whole is always going to project negativity, right? That sells. That's going to get the most attention, and emotions sell, like you were saying. Um, I just think, for me personally, and I practice this, like, you experience negativity, you experience all these different perspectives on a daily basis. And I try to tune those things out. But I love when I see people who, again, are intentional about their relationship, intentional about their friendships, the connections that they have with people, and uplifting people, and having people in your corner. And that's what I love about, our group, from back home. We hold each other accountable, right? We're not, we don't have a bunch of yes men in our circle, right? You got to have people around you. When you talk about hanging out with your boys, it's people that you could bounce ideas off of, or have conversations with, and people that will challenge you and say, look, I don't think, like, a lot of conversation we have, a lot of things we don't agree on all the time, right?
A
But
lot.
we have a lot of good dialogue, because it's, we learn from each other in these conversations through perspective. And everybody's different. And yeah, I think it's just a practice of life to try to see, okay, how can I learn more and be a better person and be the best version of myself. And then when I get into a relationship, or when somebody gets into a relationship, you got to consider you are taking on another life, whether you are the man or the woman. And it takes time to really establish a rhythm with somebody. Again, you're taking on a lot of their past traumas, their past experiences, for the better or the worse, and that's not going to happen. It's not going to gel overnight, right? You have to go through things. There's going to be times where you're tested, in that relationship, and in that journey. That's really going to define how long that's going to last. A lot of people give up. They give up very quickly when it's not what you see on social media, the trips, the gifts, and all the glamour. Nobody shows anything that's, nobody shows the ugly side of things, right? They just show the result of, the you know the best part of what they want to show. But there, things that goes on behind closed doors is really where the growth happens. And for me, I'm very big on personal development. I'm very big on constructive criticism. I like to keep people around me that I could learn from and grow with, because if you ain't growing, you dying.
Can I give you your flowers real quick, man?
All right, go for it, brother.
So y'all don't know me and Sheldon relationship, but I always thought Sheldon was such a cool individual because what I was going to get into one is that we met through music. You know, we was in the same band class. I wasn't, you know, as good as he was in his field. I was in drums. He did trumpet, but I was a trumpeter. I think I told you that before in the beginning, but I kind of left because all my friends were doing drums. They was like, nobody was like in trumpet class with me. So I was kind of like a follower, I feel like, growing up, at least like maybe in elementary school. But when I met Sheldon, like he was like the only trumpet player and he played so well.
Appreciate
And
it.
I remember I talked to you like a couple of years ago and I was just like, yo, like, how do you get so nice? And you was like, man, he was like, I took the challenge. I started getting books. I started practicing at home. And I started thinking to myself, like, I didn't do none of that. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I was just doing what was given to me in school. Like, I wasn't really going the extra mile. So when you think somebody is just have like a God-given gift, but you realize like, no, like you had your struggles. You told me you had like a hard time. I guess like the band teacher told you he didn't know how to play the trumpet either, but y'all learned together or something
Yeah.
like that. And for me, it's just like that's what sets a difference between people when they excel in certain crafts and things like that. I was going to ask you, do you have like music PTSD?
When you say music PTSD, like what do you mean by that
So I
exactly?
break it down to you in a way where a lot of my friends are athletes.
Mm-hmm.
So after college, when they stopped playing sports, they lost their identity. It started getting like PTSD from him, saying like, "Hey, I went from being a somebody to being somebody who like nobody cares about anymore."
Mm.
So it was almost to the point where it was just like their golden years was when they was playing sports. Now they feel like they're not there no more.
Mm.
So a lot of people, a lot of athletes that I know who didn't make it pro or make it to the league have a lot of regrets because they feel like, you know, I should have been to this level, but I didn't make it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So for a good period of time, like for me, I played football from 15 to 23. You know what I'm saying? That's like, that's 8 years of my life.
Yeah.
But I don't ever think that I loved it as much as some of my peers did.
Yeah.
I just loved what it did for me. You know what I'm saying? Like I love the teamwork, the camaraderie aspect of it. But if I ain't make it to league, I knew I was going to do something else. Even though I would play it along to be like, nah, it's either the league or the gun. We just play around like that all the time.
Yeah.
But like, I have like friends who are like to this day they got hurt in college or something like that, and to this day mentally they're not the same because they can't do what they used to love. And I know you used to love trumpet. You know what I'm saying? But I know life happens. You know, you put it down. I know you pick it up every now and then.
Yeah.
But do you ever have like regrets that you stopped? Do you ever like you know what I'm saying? Pretty much.
No, that's a good question. I wouldn't say that I have regrets of stopping. I actually made a very intentional decision to stop, and I don't think I've ever shared the story. But at the peak of when I was playing, I went to college for jazz performance, and I was blessed to play with a lot of well-renowned jazz musicians from the 80s, the 70s. For those that were still alive. My trumpet instructor was somebody that played with the late great Maynard Ferguson, who's like the Michael Jordan of trumpets, and he was also the lead trumpet at the time in Aretha Franklin's band. I've learned from a lot of great musicians, and I made the intentional decision to actually stop playing. So I'll share a story with you. Um, when I would go on cruises every year with my family, right? And every time I would go, I bring my instrument with me because every cruise ship has a house band, and they were always very good. And I would take my instrument with me, find the trumpet player, and just sit there. I could be drinking, I could be clubbing, doing all types of stuff on the ship, but I would go there just to really learn from whoever was on that ship at the time that played the trumpet as well. And one night, that band, after playing with them and rehearsing with them and, just kicking it, they invited me to play on formal night, which is, night where everybody gets dressed up. And they had like this atrium in the middle of the ship. And he said, hey, you let us know what song you want to play. I picked a song called Round Midnight, and I played it with the band.
That's my shit. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a Thelonious Monk song. And I did very well. And it was funny because when I got done playing, there was a black couple sitting in the front row wearing all white, just dressed to the nines, looking amazing, right? And afterwards, show was over. They came up to me and, they congratulated me or just, gave uh, their opinion on the show. And they said, the lady, the wife said, "Do you know who I am?" And in my head, I'm thinking like,
A fan?
you got to be somebody to be coming up to a random person saying, "Hey, do you know who I am?" And she said, "I'm the dean of admissions for Juilliard." And I was like, "Oh shit." And she said, "I want to invite you to a jazz spotlight in New York at Juilliard, where this jazz spotlight is something that they did annually every year, where they would fly in kids and professionals, usually young professionals or young musicians from all over the world, Europe, Asia, and you know just to really have their opportunity to earn a scholarship to go to Juilliard, #1 music conservatory in the world." Or in the U.S. I'm not sure if it's in the world because there's probably some pretty crazy ones in like China or something. But um, so I accepted it, and that day I had a pretty big performance that I had to do for my school. But I decided to try to manage my time to be able to make it to this jazz spotlight. And you mentioned something about when I started, and it's funny that you mentioned that because I was very hungry when I started out. I wanted to learn. I was very intentional about honing my craft, learning from the people that were around me that were better, and just being a sponge.
Quick.
Mhm.
So was the hunger based off of competition, or was it based off of like where do you think the hunger stem from? Like, were you just trying to be better than like the person next to you, or was it just like you just saw somebody, you had like an idol in mind that you kind of wanted to emulate?
I'd say it's all of the above. I was very competitive at that time. Yeah, I was very competitive. I remember when I first learned how to play the trumpet, it probably only took me about less than a month, and I got first chair over people that were playing, a few
So
years.
what do first chair mean? People who don't.
Yeah,
be in
first chair is like if you have a section of 8 trumpet players, the lead trumpet, like I guess the one that's going to have the lead voice. And I feel like the director gave me that just because of the work that I put in. I still feel like the people that were in that position prior to me, they were still better than me, but um, I appreciated that he did that. But I was always very, very competitive. But I also just liked the feeling of being able to play a song, right, and express myself in another way other than words. Or I couldn't really ever sing, and that was my way of singing, right? Trying to be melodic on an instrument. And yeah, so to answer your question, I would say a lot of it was competitiveness, but just really what it did for me, just being able to play an instrument was very relaxing. It was very therapeutic.
So how long did it take you before you realized, like, I'm actually nice?
Um, I'd probably say around high school. When I got with Mr. Bell at high school, I learned a lot from him. And then as I started to elevate and really learn from him, and there was a lot of great musicians in that band
Quick
at that time.
sidebar: one of the top bands in South Jersey.
Oh my God, man!
One of the top bands, South Jersey.
Yo, what a time to be alive, man! I mean, and those football games.
No, it was good times, man.
Yeah.
It's good when everybody nice. Like when your
Yeah.
band's nice and it's just a good as time.
Yeah, it was definitely a good time. Yeah, I mean, I would probably say, I don't know if I ever really realized it for myself, but the accolades kind of at some point with all the awards, the solo awards and things that I would win in high school, I had like a whole dresser full to the point where I couldn't even hold any more trophies. So yeah, it was definitely something that I really loved. I was good at. I was getting better. But when I got to college, man, I was taking 12 to 14 classes a semester, half-hour classes, and it got to the point where college kind of stripped the fun out of being a musician for me. It felt like a job, but it wasn't a fun job, right? And um, it was a very interesting experience, and I started to slowly develop a love for tech. Just doing work studies, working in the computer lab at the time, But going back to the story of Juilliard, so I go to this jazz spotlight, and I get there, and I'm meeting all of these people from all over the world. I'm hearing some of these people go up. I was probably like fourth in line to go up, and I was going to play that same song. And I'm listening to these kids, man, and a lot of them were younger than me. And these guys were just like virtuosos, like they were just so good. And I'm like, wow, I've never heard anything like it. And the dean of admissions gave me a tour of the entire school, and I was just seeing the level of excellence that went towards, the dancers, the singers. Like I seen a level of perfection as musicians, dancers, singers that I've never been exposed to in my life. So it got to the point where it was about my time to go, and it was actually getting late because I had to go back over the bridge from New York to Jersey. I went to Jersey City University at the time, and I had a decision to make. Either I stay there and play and get the scholarship, or I go back to my school and just go to rehearsal. And I remember sitting there with the feeling like, I don't feel like I belong here. And I felt that way because I realized that the level of hunger that I thought I had wasn't enough. And I felt that for me to be at the level that I need to be to thrive in this environment, the amount of work that I would need to put into this, I didn't feel like I had that anymore. I didn't have that same level of hunger.
Can I ask you a question about
Yeah.
that? Do you feel like maybe you didn't have the hunger, but maybe you was burnt out? Like I know a lot of for sports.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people who like played football from the age of 7.
Yeah.
But by the time they got to high school, they was like, I don't want to play no more. Like I'm burnt out.
That's exactly, probably, now that you mention it, I think that's really what it was. I was burnt out. I lost my motivation, but I had so much respect for the craft that I said, if I'm not going to give this 110, 150%, I'm not going to do this. And it was at that moment where I just walked out, and I caught the train, went back to my rehearsal. And yeah, I really thought about that moment for quite some time, where I was like, man, I really just passed up on an opportunity of a lifetime. Juilliard was my dream school. And it made me realize, like, yeah, maybe it's time for me to pivot to something that I find more enjoyment in. And that's where my love for tech kind of started to grow in.
Is there any correlation that you could possibly say that's the same between tech and music? Like something that you might have experienced in tech where you'd be like, I can kind of relate music to this in a way.
I'd probably say as far as creativity, yeah, there's a lot of spaces, obviously, with music to be creative and put your own feel on something. I would say that's probably the common ground with technology, where I try to find different ways to do things or make things unique to me. So, excuse me, there's not too many common grounds, but I'd probably say when it comes to creativity, that would probably be the common ground there.
Okay. So when it comes like what is the next step for you in this tech game? Like what is like the next step to where you're trying to go? I know there's different levels. I know it's like you can't just go to the top in like in a day or so, but like for you, like where are you at in this whole chain of tech?
It's just really learning new skills. I'm really intrigued by AI. Learning.
So you're not fearful at all, AI? You don't think it's going to take people jobs? You don't think it's going to like?
Oh, it's going to take people jobs. It's not going to take my job.
Okay, so I respect that because I kind of feel like.
I'll tell you why though.
Why?
Yeah. My biggest rule with AI is it's either you use it or it uses you. I think every profession, whether you are in tech, whether you are in podcasting, whether you're in filmmaking, whatever it is that you do, there's something that you can use AI to make your process easier and allow you to scale. I could probably sit here with anybody of any profession that's saying, hey, this is what I do, and this is where these are some of the areas that I struggle with. How could I use AI to make this better? So it's a matter of leveraging it.
This my whole thing as a consumer, right? Yeah. We were talking earlier about how I would tell you my sister came off of a cruise and she showed me a picture of my niece.
Mm-hmm.
The picture looked very basic. She said like, "Hey, he did like 4 pictures for like 150." I said 150 for 4 pictures, but like, I remember growing up, I had family members who would do that. They would have like the little table, like the whole little printout for like the laminated pics and things like that.
Yeah.
But like they actually took the time to like study the craft. But now it's like you can just pay an AI tool and just hit like no, if like I use DaVinci Resolve. I'm learning it right now.
Mm-hmm.
I just learned yesterday that I can use AI for the auto white balance. That pretty much means getting the colors correct.
Yeah.
I can just hit a button and say
Done.
and it's done.
Yeah.
When before you had to go get the temperature right, you had to go get the gamma, all the different things you had to do. And it's almost like as somebody who's trying to sell something, how can I ask for such a high rate if I'm doing such little work now?
I mean, at the end of the day, it's a matter of quality, right? Just because somebody did something in a shorter amount of time doesn't mean that, you know, it's worth less. You pay for quality and what it's worth to you.
My hot take is this. I personally think people are just lazy and you don't understand how easy it is to do something. So you rather pay for somebody to do. I think more people are willing to pay. Like when it comes to taxes, I see people all the time saying, you know what, I don't want to do TurboTax.
Yeah.
I'd rather pay for somebody to do it.
Yeah.
Where it's just like somebody in TurboTax be like, I have an AI thing doing this. So you come to me, I ain't doing it.
Yeah.
And that's one thing where I don't feel bad because like I ain't gonna lie, like I can be lazy at times because like I'm getting late on releases this network. I'm just started editing these things and I'm realizing like a lot of this stuff is easier than I thought it was.
Yeah.
But and before I'm thinking this so hard because you see like all these top creators think that they're doing all this work and you realize like nah, like I can do the same thing they doing.
Mm-hmm.
I just gotta give a damn
Mm-hmm.
or have some type of motivation. And I think motivation is a real big part in surviving whatever technology is coming in the future. I feel like if you're motivated to learn how to operate it, they need somebody to know how to program these things.
Yeah.
So for like programmers, people that set things up, yeah, it's no issue. But like for, you know, Joe Schmo off the street who just want an easy $15,000 an hour type of job, it's like you're not gonna.
Yeah, you're not.
Really I don't think it's gonna plan out too good.
Yeah, and really what it is you have to be inquisitive enough to learn, and it's. With a lot of these platforms like ChatGPT, obviously everybody knows that Grok 3 is one that is insane. It's a more advanced ChatGPT. But whatever you don't know, just ask it. Just have a conversation with it. You know, if you feel like if you're a creator and you're somebody that's having writer's block or you're trying to search for ideas of what you can do or what that next level is, the same way you could have a conversation with somebody who's actually doing it or, you know, research videos to find some influence, you could literally sit there and have a therapy session talking to AI and be very specific about what it is that you would like. And it will give you ideas and figure things out for you to enable you to put in the work.
That's not scary to you though?
No.
When I say that's scary, because I'm not going to say the person's name, but I had a friend who told me they did that. Like, they had a therapy session, access this chat GPT, AI, whatever, all these questions, and they got these answers back. And I'm just like, I could have told you half those answers. Like, it's not like you just need a real nigga in your corner. I mean, at the end of the day, it's not like you need a real person in your corner.
Yeah.
But besides that, it's just like, for me, I just think of programming where it's just like, whoever is controlling the responses, like somebody has to be controlling it. You know what I'm saying? Who can say ChatGPT don't tell like a kid or teenager like, hey, kill yourself. And a kid, like, you know what? That seems a little drastic, kid. You know, it's like you're going through a lot, kid. You might want to just end it. And that's why I'm like, you know, for me, it's just, if you're intellectually mature, yes, use AI.
Yeah, if you know what you're looking for.
But I feel like a lot of people, you know, they just looking for somebody just to give them an answer.
Yeah, and at that point, I probably wouldn't recommend AI. I would probably recommend doing some soul searching and figuring out what it is that you want, who you are, and where you're going. But yeah, if you're in a place, you know, using it as therapy, you know, I use that term lightly, but there are people who actually do use it for therapy.
For
And
advice, for relationship advice. I'm just like, for me,
yeah, certain things I think you're gonna always have a better experience talking to a human. When it comes to like my space, my field, it's highly technical. So there's a lot of things that I can learn from it that I couldn't ask the average person, and it'll provide me some pretty good feedback. So the more detailed you get, and really that's the thing. The more detailed you get, and the more specific you are with these prompts, then the better result it's going to give you. But for you to be detailed, you have to know what it is that you want and what it is that you're looking for. So it comes with some foundation of you being in the right direction.
and my last thing about AI, it kind of reminds me of remember those little magic balls you would shake and it would be like, hey,
Yeah.
like, will she love me?
No.
And it would be like, no, yes. And that's kind of what it like, kind of gives me a little bit where like, to me, it's just, I don't know. I'm kind of still am searching for a time when like, humans really thought
for themselves.
thought for themselves,
Yeah.
even if you might have been wrong, like life might teach you, you know what I'm saying? But nowadays it's too quick where people will just, even with these jobs, where it's like, it's going to get to a point where we ain't gonna have no professionals. Like, not to get serious, I take it back to like, the healthcare system. Like, no offense, when I was a kid, I got a lot more answers in these hospitals. You know what I'm saying? I go to hospitals now for me, for other relatives. They don't know what's going on with the patient. They don't know what's going. You know what I'm saying? They don't have no answers, but they gonna keep them in there and keep sedating them and doing whatever. Whereas like back in the day, hey, Mr. Mabel, this, that, and the third. Here's this pill. Go home, and I feel better. Now you leave a hospital, you don't feel better. You feel worse when you leave the hospital now. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So for me, it's just like it goes back to like, I ain't gonna lie, in college, I used to, use a little Quizlets, little cheat things, to pass some tests. But my thing is, I also knew like in certain classes, I had to actually learn this stuff for my field because I'm gonna need it one day. I'm not gonna be able just to pull out my phone and get the quick answers. But nowadays, I think everybody just want a quick reference guide rather than actually just ingraining the skills inside them. That's why when you do meet a motherfucker like Casanet or like, somebody who really like, is passionate about what he's doing, they going to the moon.
Yeah. Yeah. And speaking, I was just kind of thinking about what you were saying about doctors, and we're talking about ChatGPT and Quizlet and cheating, but there's a huge generation of people in the medical space that are using AI to get through medical school, and that's going to be our future doctors rather than taking the time to actually learn how the human body works. And I mean, don't even get me started on the medical industry, but there's I believe the human body can heal itself in a lot of different ways if you have the proper resources and put the right things into it. And where we're going now with technology and, obviously the medical space continuing to grow and be the juggernaut that it is. Yeah. Yeah. You go into a lot of, so last year, to kind of pivot a little bit, was a big year for just healing as a whole, right? Physically. Like I was literally at the doctor probably every week for an entire year. I had a bunch of surgeries. I was very intentional about, really taking care of my health. And I would have a lot of situations where I'm challenging the doctor for certain things that they're telling me, and I'm like, no, you're not. That's not how that works, right? And I come to realize that we put a lot of trust in doctors and in the medical field, but a lot of them don't really truly understand how the body works. They understand how medicine works, right? Because that's how they were taught. Yeah, so it's a very scary future to me when it comes to the medical space, and people just need to get very educated on not just overall how the human body works, but paying attention to their body, and trying to figure out for themselves what's going wrong, because your body's going to tell you what's wrong, right? You just need to pay attention to it. So that's kind of where, you could sit here and try to ask a doctor what's going on. They're going to try to throw a pill, or you can go online and research this symptom. Like, what am I feeling right now? Or what is this? And it's going to give you its recommendation. But a lot of the times, if you just sit there and listen to your body, likely something is going to come to you that says, okay, this is what's actually going on. This is what I'm feeling. And if you go into the doctor's office, like I would have so many times where I'm like, no, we're not doing that. This is what we're doing. And they'll be like, all right, cool. We'll do it your way. And then problem solved versus, going on this prescription, that prescription, or, whatever the case is. So yeah, I know that was kind of a bit of a pivot in the medical space. I know we have a lot of conversations about health and taking care of your body. So yeah.
No, but that's very important because, like I said, you know me, like a year and a half ago, I was kind of in the same situation. So is one thing is I can say this, that to the medical professionals who do care, I do appreciate y'all because I have met people who are passionate about what they do and what they do. I know it's Nurses Week right now. I think it's like May 8th today. It's Nurses Week, so shout out to all the nurses. My mom was a nurse, so I'm not trying to discredit it, but I just wanted it to be more people doing it for the passion more so than the paycheck.
Yes, 1,000%.
And that's what I think a lot of people do it now for. They see a paycheck. Like my mom used to tell me, like, how much you be a nurse because it pays well. But the thing is, my mom actually cared about people. You know what I'm saying? And for me, I knew I didn't want to do something if I really ain't have a passion in it. 'Cause I don't want nobody to take care of me if they don't care pretty much. So
yeah,
it's definitely one of those things as you get older, your eyes just get bigger and you just realize what really is important.
Yeah.
But I think we'll end it right here, man. Episode number 6. I got my boy Shells with me. Anything you want to end off with?
No, man, just live life to the fullest, people. We're only here for a certain amount of time. Make the best out of your relationships. Love those who love you. Spread love. And yeah, just be the best version of yourself, man. Life ain't as hard as it needs to be. Keep the right people around you and do everything with the best intentions.
Love. It's your boy TravTheRealist. All these episodes are spread out in time. So when I do eventually drop it, just know right now it's May 8th, 2025, right?
Timestamp.
A lot of just timestamp. I got other episodes I ain't dropped that's coming out. That's from 2024. So bear with me. But just know I want to make sure I'm doing this right and that when I do drop it, everything flows good. I just want to say I appreciate everybody that do follow up with me, that do come out and support me as well, because I need y'all, man. You know what I'm saying? Y'all definitely do help me get this content out. And I just want to say, always love the people that love you.
Yeah, and we need you, Trey. We need that content. We need those real ass conversations.
Hey, well, I'm gonna bring it back. I'm like medicine. I give it to you when you need it. Yeah. I'm joking, but nah, I'm gonna start dropping some more episodes soon, man. But it's your boy TravTheRealist. I love everybody that love me. Keep it real.
Peace and love.
Thank you for watching the video. If you like what you saw, please subscribe, like, comment, and share. We have similar videos above. For exclusive content, please follow our Patreon, which is patreon.com/BearviewMedia. See you next time. Peace.